Yo, 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 what's up? And happy Monday for those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, and happy Sunday for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere. It's so good to be here with you today on this live. I'm just absolutely loving all of the stuff that's going on in the group. So this week has been a really awesome week, just the way that Cultural Chameleons is developing and people coming in and asking questions and engaging and people reaching out and asking me, to help them with their challenges. I mean, that's what it's all about. We're here to support each other, and I'm just so motivated because all of you are here for a reason, and that reason is to come together over common values, and the common value is that we want to develop ourselves and that we want to grow. So for those of you who are here on the live, hello, how are you? Let me know who you are and where you are tuning in from. Write me a wee comment so that I can see that. And for those of you that are watching this on replay, hashtag replay. That would be amazing, so I know who's keeping up with this content, keeping me motivated to keep on bringing you these videos. And if you're here today, it's fantastic. I just want to acknowledge you because money is something we all have to deal with. It's one of those dragons. It's always there. And today we're going to learn how to slay the dragon. We're going to learn how to have that epic mindset that will set us up for success ultimately in life. And money is one of those things that if you have a resourceful money mindset, you're going to rock the world. So, who's excited? We're stoked to be here. That's a New Zealand saying, by the way. I use it quite often. I'm pretty stoked to be here. So now I would like to just set up the frame for today. I know there's so many things going on in your life and you can be busy doing this, that, and whatever and listening to this in the background. Well, I'd like to invite you, if it's possible, to just take time to sit down, to get into the space where you really have your full concentration on this conversation, because it's a pretty big conversation. And if you'd like to write some notes, just get a pen and paper ready and be aware that the more that you engage, the more that you take out of it. And I'd love you to jump in and ask me questions, or if something really resonates with you, just pop it in the chat box so that I can see it and I can know how you're following along. So money mindset is something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while because it keeps on coming up in my coaching sessions. And so I thought I would bring you all this information. Now you're probably watching this thinking, yes, Danny, give me some awesome tools for a great money mindset, and we're definitely going to be doing that. And we're also going to be talking about the thinking behind money and talking about money beliefs. That's such an important thing to have a conversation around because beliefs are the things that keep us stuck. So today, unpacking that and recognizing that there might just be a few little things that are actually holding you back from having a healthy money mindset. So without further ado, let's jump in. So money. What even is money? It's just little pieces of paper that we use in exchange, and it's a value exchange. You give me something and I give you something. And when the world wasn't so complex, you gave me potatoes and I gave you carrots. But now, in the complexity of it all, you're giving me this piece of paper that is representing something. Now, it's your choice what meaning you put on that. Is that the meaning of it's potentially an energy? It's an exchange of energy. It could be a multitude of things and that we're going to unpack today. What meaning do you give money? It's a really important question. So, my comments are not working, so technology is not being my friend, but I would just love for you to say hi if you're on this video already. One important point to start off with today is that it's okay to want money. I think there's a lot of stigma around people when they aspire to be rich or to get money, that they don't feel like they deserve to have money? And just ask yourself, is this something that's crossed your mind? Do you want to have aspirations around money, but society tells you that it's bad, that you're not allowed to want that? Well, I'm here to tell you that you are allowed to want that everything that you truly desire, you can have it. But it's how you go about it and the thinking around it that we're going to unpack today. Now, I had a interesting scenario unpacking my own limiting belief, and I actually grew up in a castle. My family moved to New Zealand when I was 12, and we ended up buying a really big old house that's 12 bedrooms, 15 bathrooms, and it's an absolute beauty of a place. If anyone wants to look it up, it's called Warwick House in Nelson, New Zealand, and it's a castle. So I grew up in this castle, and I would go to Nelson Girls College, which was my secondary school, and everybody used to call me the girl from the castle. Not that many people knew my name, but everyone knew where I lived. And as a result of that, people judged me on having money. And the interesting thing was that my parents didn't even have that much money in the grand scheme of things. Their entire savings went into restoring this beautiful, amazing house. And it took them 6 or 7 years to restore it. Now, people didn't know that backstory, that we had not that much expendable cash because all of our money was in this big nest egg. But anyway, as a result of it, I got judged, and people would comment and say things that really hurt me. And somehow I developed a belief that actually it wasn't good to want money, and it wasn't okay to have this. I guess I didn't want to be judged, so I preferred not to have money so that I didn't get judged. And this created a real limiting belief. It meant that I was holding myself back from potentially a way bigger career because I subconsciously decided that I didn't want to have money. Now I just have to apologize because the comments are not working, so I'm just going to try and do something crazy. Hopefully it works. Oh, yes, it did work. Yes, Marshall, tuning in from Iowa, USA. Love that you're here. I'm so excited about this conversation. And then Anya, beautiful Anya. Thank you so much for being here. Amazing. So I had this situation where I subconsciously developed a belief that I didn't want to have money. So I lived my life accordingly. I was keeping myself small because I thought it was bad to have money. I thought that I just didn't want to deal with that judgment, and so in the end made choices that reflected that. And since I recognized that as a limiting belief, whoa, now I'm so much freer, and I'm able to say, yes, I want to make money, and yes, I'm going to work friggin' hard to have an awesome career that's going to make me money, and I'm not ashamed of it. I'm allowed to have that belief, and I'll tell you why. And there's so many different definitions of success, and all of them are depending on your upbringing and what it is that you actually want to create in your life. But I know that I want to be successful because I want to use my voice as a voice of change for the world. I have this really extroverted personality, and I decided that I want to use that to give back. So that for me is my definition of success, is to be able to have a very thriving company, make money, and give back to society. So why shouldn't I allowed to be making money? I mean, you think about Tony Robbins, who's helped hundreds and thousands of people. He's also friggin' loaded, and he fully deserves it. That man works like a beast, and he gives back. So even if you don't want to give back in a big way to society, you're still allowed to want money, because you are ultimately going to be doing something with that money. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about is what are the things that you're going to do with the money that you want to create. maybe that will help you shift your mindset as well. If it's going to be giving money to charity or putting money into a non-profit organization, or even if you just want a friggin' nice car, that's okay. Because like we talked about with, dreaming big and having these aspirations, the way that it makes you feel to have that mindset around, like, I want money, and stepping up to the plate of I'm going to work really friggin' hard to make it, well, that's a different energy, isn't it? That's not just like, oh, everyone else has money and I don't have any money. Yeah, it sucks. You're staying stuck in that mindset. But when you're stepping up to the plate, it's not about how much money you make, but it's that energy that you bring with you. It's that excitement in your bones that you could potentially earn $100,000 this year. That excitement. It's scary. It's scary for a lot of people to think that. And that's okay. Because you've got to lean into that discomfort. You've got to recognize that maybe you're trying to keep yourself small because your body is protecting you. Back in the day, we used to have lions and tigers and bears. And now, realistically, the only fears are the fears that we create in our mind. So maybe the fear of saying, I want $100,000, well, that is actually fear holding you back from being that huge, incredible person that you are, but without any limits, that you can create an empire. Marshall, you can create this project. Oh my God, you can. You can affect the lives of 10,000 people. But that's your goal. So, interestingly, people that win the lotto, they actually don't end up retaining much money. I think something like 10% retain a decent level of wealth. Why is that? Can somebody jump in the comments and tell me why they think people end up losing their money when they win big amounts? Because it's really interesting that if you get given the money, you don't know what to do with it. Why is that? Why do people, for example, grow up in wealth and then end up destroying themselves? Or, fed with the golden spoon, but then don't have any life skills. So I'd love you to just let me know what you think. Why would these people end up spending all their money? I'm just going to give the comments a second, but otherwise I have the answer. So there is something called an abundance mindset. And the opposite to an abundance mindset is an impoverished mindset. So people who live this life of scarcity, they don't have everything, or they don't perceive themselves to have the capabilities to earn more if there's, a lack. It's the lack mentality instead of the abundance mentality. That the abundance mentality comes from a place, that energy that we were talking about, when you know that regardless of the situation, you have the tools within you to make more money. And that, my friends, is the ultimate distinction between somebody with an impoverished mindset who has to hold on to, grab everything that they have because they're afraid they're going to lose it. So how different does it feel when you know that if the government stripped the money away or the economy died, you have all of the tools to make your money back? And that's the energy that you bring with you into life. That's the energy that you bring with you into your job, that regardless, you've got the tools. So the people that win the lotto, they, generally speaking, are, not earning that much money. They're in a place of, or they're in a level of society where they would never have dreamed about having that much money because they are in the lack mentality. So then they don't have the right energy to be able to sustain the amount of wealth that they then become, so that they then receive. So they received the money, not to mention blowing it on spending sprees, not investing it, not having the right tools to be able to deal with that amount of money. So it goes. They spend it in a frenzy, and then they get back to the same place they were. And mentally, they weren't ready to receive that amount of money. So interestingly now, I think in New Zealand and maybe in some other countries, you actually have to do a kind of seminar before you receive the money to explain all of this, to make people step up. Like, you are now a millionaire. This is the responsibility that a millionaire takes with them. And it is a responsibility. You need to have the ability to respond. You can't just be in that reactive state anymore, because reactivity is spending without thought. Reactivity is just allowing things to happen to you instead of you creating the world around you. So this responsibility seminar is basically giving you fundamental life skills of how to have a wealth mindset. How cool is that? So today, you don't need to win $1 million, but you get the skills anyway, which is fantastic, because when you have $1 million, you're going to have the skills. So it's basically the way that we react, the way that we respond to having money. So why is it important? Why is it important to have these skills? Well, ultimately, if you, for example, if you could say to yourself now, I'm earning X amount of euros per year or dollars per year, and by the end of next year, I would like to earn 3 times that amount. Do the calculations in your mind. How much would that be, approximately? If that number scares the shit out of you, you are not ready to earn that amount of money. Why? Because you have not stepped into that responsible money wealth set mode. When you start being able to be resourceful, to have the ability to take whatever life throws at you, and then realistically just getting used to that dollar figure. It might be scary, but you can achieve it. If you worked really hard, I know that you can achieve it. And that fear that you get when you think about that dollar figure, well, that's normal and it's okay. But you got to lean into that fear, and you got to recognize that that fear was trying to keep you small, and now you're ready to play big. Is it awesome? You guys loving this? So stoked to be sharing this message. So you have to basically become the person that deserves to earn that amount of money. You have to get those tools, those resources, develop those skills. You now in your position might be earning X amount, but what kind of skills do you need to earn 3 times that amount? And when you learn those skills and when you start to develop yourself, then you will get to that position and you will know that you deserve that amount of money. But with the current level of thinking that you have, you can't possibly earn that amount of money. Is this making sense? Awesome. When you think about emotionally as well, these beliefs that we have created around money, there's also a lot to do with our family history. Because our family, they shape us, right? The magical big people in our lives. And it's worth it to take some time, maybe even after this video, to write down, what was your parents' wealth situation? What was your grandparents' wealth situation? What did they grow up experiencing? And then you will recognize that those behaviors were passed on to you. So, for example, my dad grew up in a pretty just cutting even family in Wellington. And I guess that he made a decision really early on that he wanted to make money. So he worked and worked and worked his whole life, and that was always his priority. And he's super focused on money. The dollar figure is always the deciding factor. And thank you, Dad, if you're watching this, for working so bloody hard to create this beautiful family life that we've had. And then you also need to take into consideration the energy that that brings. You know, this man furiously worked as hard as he possibly could, worked himself to the bone, stressed himself out in order to create the wealth that we have today. And then so I grew up in a wealthier environment, so I have the skills and the thinking level now to be able to climb up the wealth ladder another notch, because I've not come from that place of scarcity. I haven't been grabbing at the money. The money has always been there. Plus, I always knew that I had the skills to make money wherever I went, because luckily that's what was instilled in me. Yeah, so just think about it. What is your family's wealth history, and how does that affect you emotionally? Take some time to draw a bit of a family tree, because every little bit of information around this is helpful. You might have had an auntie or an uncle that maybe talked bad about people that had money, or you've got a cousin that, for example, puts down people that are rich. You might not read too much into it, but when you start to do this work and you think, something happened there where I started to believe that person, or I created a belief that all people with money are bad, or all people with money are assholes. When you see a Ferrari, you're like, that is because of our conditioning. And the more you become aware of that, the more you can do something about it. Because 95% of the journey is awareness. The rest is up to you. And that's modifying your behavior when you feel these things. You start asking yourself objective questions like, interesting I feel like that. Maybe it's because of this belief. Or interesting I feel like that. I don't actually want to display this behavior, but I'm reacting. And then you can just have a better understanding of yourself and your wealth mindset and where it's coming from. So I hope this is resonating with some of you, because I think it's really interesting that obviously our families make up our beliefs, but you need to write them down. What beliefs do you have about money? And then the best thing is to just change your belief. So now we're going to be talking about how to change your belief. And changing your beliefs, honestly, it's the decision that you make in the instant that you want to change a belief. Now, you may not believe me, so what you need to do is back up your belief with evidence. So I believe I have the capacity to make as much money as I want. So then give your belief evidence by saying, one time I did a project and I was able to handle that project, so I have the ability. Or I know that I'm resourceful enough to create whatever I want to create. And then give yourself an example of when you were resourceful. And all of this gathers evidence for you to be able to change your belief. And you might think, okay, money is an energy, or money is a tool, even better. It's not about you getting the money, it's about the money being a tool for you to be able to do other things. Like I said before, writing a list about all of the things that you would do with the money might help you with your mindset, because you recognize that that money is just being transferred through you to do other things. I actually told my client recently, you've paid me my invoice, my bill, and I said, thank you so much. You've just really helped me put money towards my mountain bike. And he was like, wow, that's fantastic. I'm so glad that I was able to provide that for you. So I gave him coaching, he paid me, and then I was able to use it in something that keeps me fit and happy every day. So that was a beautiful exchange of energy. Or money is just a tool that I'm using to be able to create more success. Now, when people have this, I've talked about it briefly before, they're in awe of people with money. I would like to invite you to recognize that if you look at a millionaire and you go, oh man, what would it be like to have all of that money? Unfortunately, that mindset doesn't bring you into the millionaire status. It keeps you where you are because that's the millionaire, or that's having millions out here, and you're keeping yourself down there. So I would like to invite you next time you are experiencing that, when you see a millionaire or someone driving a really beautiful car or whatever it is, that you just stop to acknowledge how you're feeling and then say, well, touche, well done. I applaud you for having this amount of money. Just think about the energy change within you. Like, nice work. You've probably worked really hard. You know, and you don't know their backstory, like I was saying before. They might have just been a really hard worker, or they were really smart in business, and maybe they aren't an asshole. You know, you can just give them the benefit of the doubt, but don't waste your energy thinking, oh, I wish I had this, because you can have that. And when you just see them and have a touche, sir, kind of mentality, you are actually stepping into those shoes, so that one day when you start earning more and more money, you will just rock that attitude. Be the person that is big enough to wear those shoes. So, talking about hard work, it's actually important that you recognize, and this happens a lot, is people want money, but they don't actually want to put in the work to get it. They see that dollar figure and they're like, oh, I wish I had money, but I'm just going to sit here and watch Netflix. And then you have this conflicting in values where you recognize that maybe you want to have success, but you're valuing security. You're not pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. So maybe you need to value risk more, because risk is the only way that you can actually become rich, because you're taking risks in your career, in your social life, all of these things. You're becoming the person that can earn that amount of money. You're going to have to start valuing risks. So what I don't like to see is when people aspire to something, but then they don't check whether their values are actually in line with that. And then they're perpetually thinking, oh, I wish I was like that. I wish I did this. And don't actually back it up with anything. Oh, Gracie Grace, I saw that you're tuning in. Hello, my dear. So epic to have you on this live today. You guys loving this? Can you just type into the box, like, what is your biggest takeaway so far? What have you loved that I've shared with you? Because I think there's so many little nuggets of gold in here, and I'm so excited to bring you this information. But just tell me, what are you loving? So when you are becoming the person that wears the big shoes to be able to earn the amount of money that you want to earn, just making sure that you are actually defining your own version of success. And maybe you value freedom and flexibility. Maybe you just want to travel the world perpetually for your entire life, like I did. And I really valued flexibility and freedom, but then I recognized that I also want to have a successful career, and I also want to be able to aspire to make money. And so now I need to value structure more, and I need to value systems more. And I need to put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and push myself out of my comfort zone and do all of these things. So just recognizing where there's conflicting values, and then putting yourself out there to actually understand what it is that you want in your life and how much money you need to sustain that lifestyle. Just do the dollar figure. What do you want? What is the ideal average day? One of the very first activities that I've done on here with people, and if you haven't heard about it yet, I encourage you to look for it. It's called My Ideal Average Day. and just write down all of the ideal things that you would do, cost it out, and think about how much your ideal lifestyle would cost. You don't need to earn $100,000 if that's not what you want and you're going to live in an eco hut in the middle of nowhere. Sounds awesome. Can I come visit? But just recognizing what is wealth to you. What is the amount of money that you want that lines up with your values that you can then strive towards systematically? I heard a really nice expression the other day, like a job is just over broke. Now, that was quite interesting because I value entrepreneurship because I think that there is so much more freedom and flexibility and creativity that you can create in your own lives. Now, not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. Fair enough. And I would like to invite you that there is so many possibilities out there, and a lot of people don't want to be an entrepreneur because they want to work with other people or in a team. All of these things are possible, and you're an entrepreneur. And that allows you to have that freedom for wealth growth, have side projects going on, or you have your stable job that you love, and as long as you're passionate about it and you're there because for the right reasons, awesome, rock on. But then having a side project or investing your money or even, what is it called? Dogecoin, which I'm just finding out about. But all of those things are possibilities for you to get to that dollar figure that you need to sustain your lifestyle. But you need to be realistic about it. And once you have that dollar figure, start working backwards. Like, how much am I earning in my job? And how much side hustle money do I need? How much do I need to be putting aside every week to be able to get that investment to be able to make that amount of money? So, all really good little bits of information. Oh, there we go. Grace, money can't buy happiness. That comes to mind. Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that. Love that. Mindset, version of success, putting in that energy. Yes, Marshall, totally a revolving door of energy. Love that. And permaculture principle. So, Grace, awesome point that you've just brought up there. Money can't bring you happiness. And I love that you've brought that up because realistically, people say, I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I'm rich. I'll be happy when I earn $100,000. Well, hate to break it to you, but if you're not happy right now on the inside, nothing is going to bring you happiness. And that's also why the millionaires end up going into drugs and ODing. Obviously, this is just a generalization, but they actually just haven't found internal happiness, and nothing on the outside can change that. So it's a really good point. You need to be working on yourself really a lot now at this pay grade so that you can find eternal happiness, and then the money is just a bonus. The money gives you the resources to be able to create more growth, to be able to expand your capacity. But all of that needs to happen, first of all, well, in your heart and then in your mind. To be able to sit here and say, I could have more money, but I love myself right now, just with everything that I have. So that's a beautiful point. I love that you shared that with us. So talking about tools, I'm going to tell you a few little, I've got a 4-step exercise for you to do, either now or in your own time. I would like you to start a sentence and write, money is ... Whatever comes to mind, the first thing that comes to mind. So then you have a really clear belief of what you think about money. Now, I would like you to change that to an empowering belief. So, step 2, empower yourself. Give that belief evidence. Marshall, those projects that you're doing, What are some smaller projects that you've done and you've proven to yourself that you can do them, which allows you to have an empowering belief that you can create whatever you want with the resources that you have? So step 1, money is, finish the sentence. Step 2 is more empowering belief. Step 3 is set a target, a monetary target or goal that scares you. Because then you have to grow into the person that can achieve it. If it gives you those little goosebumps or hairs on your arms, whoo, love it. Lean into that discomfort. Make it mean that you have to grow. It's not about the money. It's about you as a person becoming the person that deserves to earn that money. And then step number 4, brainstorm different ways, and like multitude of ways. I would recommend 8 ways to achieve that money. Whether it's selling your car, or whether it is reaching out to a long lost uncle to invest in a project that you've always dreamed of, whether it's opening a zoo and doing research that's groundbreaking and you patent it and then you end up making all this money from your patent. No idea. Don't start a zoo, by the way. I don't know why I said that. I don't like zoos. But just think outside of the box. And the other thing is, once you start getting your brain firing, like, could you become a stripper? I don't know, Marshall, you probably could. There's so many ways, and we quite often have this monovision, and it's really important to just stretch your neuroplasticity and just recognize that when you are thinking of options, think of really a lot of options, even unrealistic options, because maybe, just maybe, they will trigger something in you that allows you to come up with an idea to make you money. So there's so much that we've gone over today, and some people say, well, what if you're just waiting for money to make you happy because money buys you things and then you will be happy? Well, we've kind of already talked about that, but I would like to just bring it up again, because if you're waiting for money to bring you happiness, well, it can buy you things that will make you happy, but that's hedonic happiness. That is the moments that you are enjoying that particular thing. But what we want to find is eudaimonia happiness, which is purpose, mission, vision. So when you close your eyes and you take deep breaths into your soul and you connect with your purpose, that is true happiness. That is when you can say, I'm here and I'm on a mission and I know what my mission is, and this is what I need to do to achieve the mission. And the monetary goal just sort of fits into that purpose. It's really about you feeling that sense of fulfillment. So don't wait for the money to bring you happiness. Bring the happiness and then the money will come. And people feel it. People know when you've got the light switched on. They know when you're on a mission. You know what the best thing is somebody who's passionate, nobody can say no to that. Somebody that's vulnerable and shares their passion with no shame, people love that. And that's how you sell. That's how you can just be your authentic self and everyone loves it. And then you can create whatever it is that you want to create. But you just need to have that belief in yourself, that belief that you deserve it, and that belief that people love you, because they do. Yes, Marshall. High business level stripper. Exactly. That's how you reach your financial goals. Love it. Love it. Nice. So I think that's all I've got to talk about today, really, unless anyone has any questions or unless you would like to make a comment. But just remember that money is just an energy. It's just a flow. And once we gain awareness around what our beliefs are, we have the power to change our beliefs in an instant. As long as you want to change, think about what it will bring you in 5 years' time if you change your belief. Think about how much of a better person you'll be if you change your belief. Think about how much of a better employee you would be if you bring that energy to work. Like, I deserve to be here because I'm killing it and I deserve that paycheck. And then you are able to work towards something with certainty. So the money, it's actually not about the money. It's about the mind and the way that you are seeing the world and the way that the world is seeing you. So thank you very much for joining me on this live today. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you all next week. Bye for now.